Hi everyone, welcome to the Verkos Show. Today's guest is all the way from America. She's an author. Her name is April Yarber. Hello, April.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I don't know why I have a phone call coming in. This is always, it just happens, right? I feel like I need to unplug. Okay, go ahead.
Your time. It's okay because this show's keeping it real. It's like unscripted and hey, anything can happen.
That's right.
Yeah. Like the title of your show, I love it because it describes the woman and the person you are, and it probably gives a little bit of a background of where you've come from and where you are today too. I wanted to be David against Goliath. Man, that is powerful. How did you want it? How did that come up in your life?
Well, that happened when I was 5. So I didn't grow up in church. I wasn't, introduced to God on a daily basis. My mom didn't worship God in front of me or anything. But my grandmother on my mother's side did. She would always watch the 700 Club, and she always was in her Bible, but she always kept him to herself. So she didn't really share who Jesus is. So when I was about 5, my grandmother took me to church. And so I got to go to Sunday school, and I remember the story was David and Goliath. And I'd never heard that story before, and I loved it. And so the Sunday school teacher, after she read it, she noticed that I was so just taken back by it. I literally remember thinking in my head, I want to be David someday and stand for God. Wow. And so she asked me, do you know what it means to have Jesus in your heart? And I didn't. I was only 5. And so she explained to me what it meant, that Jesus would come make his home in me. And all I had to do was ask him into my heart. So I repeated after her that prayer.
Wow, at 5 years old. Oh.
And that was the seed planted. But I didn't stay there forever. Like after that, life happened.
Yeah.
And I grew up, and my mom and dad got divorced, and I got on drugs, and I did life my own way. But I always knew Jesus. Like he was always on the back burner of my life, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I was doing my own thing. It was kind of like the prodigal son or prodigal daughter. I went out and did my own stuff. I went through hell and back. I was homeless. There was so many things that I went through, but God always placed people strategically in my life that would never let me forget about him. So if he was too far from me, somebody would be there with praying for me, or they'd pop up out of nowhere. A stranger would say something to me. So that he kept himself.
That was my life too. Like similar situation. Like my mum, I got to admit, she was a believer, but my dad was more of an atheist. So I got my mum going to church, and then it was all Greek. So I couldn't read the Bible. It was Greek. The priest was speaking Greek. So it was just all going in the motions. But I knew of a God. But I didn't actually know how to implement him and know that it was a relationship with him. So, but through that journey, though, I always knew that he was there in some way, shape, or form, or he'd, like you say, because sometimes we'd ask him and seek him for help and not understand how he would deliver it. Then all of a sudden, back then we probably weren't tuned in and tapped into him either. He'll send someone and they will say like one sentence. Like, I know that one sentence that actually woke me up and changed my life. Someone goes, oh my God, Anastasia, you're always upset, you're always crying, you're this, whatever. She goes, why don't you just ask and you shall receive? And I'm not going, and that just changed my life. I looked into it. What does ask and you shall receive means? So
that is so amazing.
So I knew that, like what you said, like God's always been there, but we've never actually had that relationship with him. It's fully giving yourself to him is when your life changes even more. I'm sorry to interrupt, it just brought me back to that.
No, that's amazing. And that's right. And it's not only that. I always wanted to be me. Like I never wanted to change me, because I always thought, oh, I'm so cool. I'm so this, I'm so that. It's not until now that I can see that God truly has changed me. I'm just a better version of myself. I was always afraid of losing myself.
But what made, like, because you were homeless too, what came first, drugs or the homeless part? What came?
Drugs. So I did drugs I started doing drugs when I was 13.
Oh my gosh.
And it was
And,
like, fun. I always hung out with older people, like always hung out with older teenagers. And it started off as a party and it was fun. And, you could be social and you wouldn't have to worry about feeling awkward because it took the awkward peel off of you, right? And then it just seduces you, right? So one minute you're partying, you're having fun. And
yeah,
then next minute it's got its grasp on you and you're robbed of yourself.
it's so true, man. And not only that, the aftermath of after taking drugs is the worst feeling ever.
It is.
Pure darkness. It's pure, yeah. It's because I
It
was
is. It is.
yeah, because
Have you done that too?
well, I've taken drugs a couple times in my life. I've never been addicted. Always tried something once and sort of like, nah, not my thing. And I was never addicted to drugs or alcohol, but I have tried. I'm not going to lie, I have tried it. But I found out because my last previous partner I was with, he was into that scene, and I didn't know till he admitted it further down in the relationship, which I was quite shocked. And then he said to me, I only do it once or twice a year. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, if he only does it once or twice a year, that's like us probably having a drink or two once or twice a year. So I thought it was normal for that sort of a lifestyle, even though I've never been with someone in that sort of lifestyle. It was weird. I can't explain it, but I think you get the logistics of it all. So I
Right.
highs and the lows of it. And he goes, once to twice a year turned out to be every time we go out, every time we do. And I'm not going, what's going on here? And I'd always question him, why do you do it? Why does this happen? Because like he's so successful, but then he's got that other side where it's all about the material world to supply his needs, doing what he's doing, but he's not happy just to supply his habit and his lifestyle. And I'm thinking, what sort of life is that? Like you work all week and you say discipline, then the weekend comes, you blow it, you sleep all day and whatever, and you're just in pure darkness till Monday comes. And then it's like the same routine over and it just keeps. Man, it only lasted 9.5 months, that relationship, but I learned a lot in that relationship. I learned why people turn to drugs, why they have that lifestyle, because they're not happy within themselves.
Exactly.
And what is lacking is God.
It's
It's God.
God. It's
Yeah.
all about God, and it's the same for everybody. Even people that have shopping addictions, right? They buy, 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 buy. They're trying to fill that empty void up, and the
And
only person that can fill it is God.
yeah, hoarders. Hoarders the same thing. Everyone that's got some sort of it boils down to everything. And I realized that the hard way because last year I've lost everything. Everything. I was telling you before, I was 3 days away from being homeless because I gave up everything for a so-called dream to go to America for my show to go on a network. And when they told me no shot, no show, I was like put in the corner. I thought, what do I do? I've been waiting for this breakthrough for 4.5 years. We've been working on it, gave up everything for this dream. And then last year, May, they said, okay, we're ready to go. You've got to get vaccinated. I'm going, what? I was like left speechless, April. I was left speechless. I thought, what do I do? I've got to be true to myself and trust in the Lord. And that's what I did. And that's when I turned to him. I said, you know what? I'll restart it again on my own and the way I know, and then wherever God leads me and takes me. But at least now, what I thought of that material world is nothing because he stripped me from everything so I can find him and seek him. And now I know what life is about. And I'm loving it and I'm living it. And what I have or what I don't have doesn't faze me more, nothing. I'm fearless. I'm at peace. Another world. It's just totally another world.
It is. It is. And you wish you could just like bottle up this joy and pass it out and say, this is the Lord in a bottle. And it's joy everlasting. And even if on your worst day, even when you're depressed, you still have this joy, this unspeakable joy.
And it's serene and it's peaceful because you know you got him. Like someone said to me the other day, are you always this happy, this and that? You haven't got a partner at the moment, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah. Do you think I need a partner to keep me happy? I said, or to
right?
oh God in my life, I'm happy. I said, all that will come in due time. I've just found that when I seeked him, he was seeking me at the same time, even though he's always been seeking us and calling for us, but we've never listened. We didn't have our eyes open, like I say, eyes to see and ears to hear. We were just got caught up in that, as they call it, the matrix, where we were just at that moment just lost and living it and breathing it and being thought that that was our happiness, and it just sort of covered that happiness on the surface in this world. That's all it did. But then when you reverse it and you go within, you find the Lord, and you find your happiness and joy. It's like now it all comes from in here and it comes out into the world instead of letting the world come into you. It's a totally different ball game now, totally different way of living. And we actually should be actually blessed for our homelessness, or if we had addictions or whatever, because that's our testimony. And I believe everything is written, and we were meant to go through what we're meant to go through in order to share our testimonies as well. Because, I mean, my God, we get sidetracked now. Anyway, it's not about me. I've got to turn to you now. But the journey, because you're very similar, and he led you actually to even be an author today, a Christian author.
To tell of his wonderful deeds. So that's it. Basically, like you said, he gave me that purpose to become an author. He put it on my heart. He started showing me hearts, heart-shaped leaves, heart-shaped rocks, and I came to hear the secret language I have with God. And so when I named the devotional Speaking to the Heart, that's what he does, right? He speaks to our hearts. And so my second book is a book series, and it's an anthology, like I was telling you, Anastasia, and I'd love to get your stories because you have some amazing stories to share about God and what he's done in your life. And so that's my mission now. He's given me this, and it's an anthology book series, and I'm going to keep on writing and collecting people's true stories until he says I can't anymore. You know? Until he says it's time to come home. Until the street lights come on. You know, when you're little.
It's so true though. But how did, was it, because you were telling me it was a passion of yours when you were younger to be a writer?
Yeah, well, I used to spend a lot of time alone because I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's house, and I used to write and draw, and so I told my mom once I wanted to be an author, and then I didn't think about it ever again until I was working at the hospital for 17 years, and God spoke to my heart. God started showing me those hearts and things like that, and then it was like out of the blue. He said to start writing. And so I spent 1 year of my life writing this book. And if you notice, this book is fat. This is a very fat book. This is a daily devotional, and God told me to spend time with him every single day for 1 year, to write a page a day. So it was whatever God was speaking to me, I would write. I would look up verses, and then I would write a prayer back to him. And so I did that every day for a year. So one of my prayers was answered because I asked God to please help me read my Bible more. Well, research for this book led me, because, God's amazing. And he reveals things to us, right? And so the enemy, during the time I was writing this book, the enemy said, oh, you're not hearing from God. This isn't real. This is just you. And I was so devastated and crushed, and I was crying. And then, you start having all these doubts, and the sneaky little thing pops in there. And so I wrote in my book, today the enemy is really playing on my mind. And so today, just for today, I'm going to write this a different way. So I just wrote it straight from me, not from me, God to me, to the book. And it didn't feel right, Anastasia. When I did that for like 3 days in this book, and it didn't feel right. It wasn't God's way. And so God used this other thing to amaze me. He tells me one morning, he says, I am the morning star. Now, I'm not a theologian. I don't know my verses well enough to know that there's anything in the Bible that says he is the morning star. So when I Google in the Google bar, the morning star Bible verses, so I can put them on the page for the day, it popped right up. He is the morning star.
Yeah.
I got goosebumps. I mean, it was like extrasensory perception on steroids. I felt so hyper aware, and I just started sobbing.
Yeah, because you know what? He knows your intention. He knows you're listening to him. Because I find that obedience is very big, and you're obedient to him. So I believe when his children are obedient to him and they listen, that's when the blessings all come, and you're like in awe. Because that's what I've realized when I listen to him. That's when my life starts changing. Oh my God, for the better. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And I have been told, like, so when I was writing this book, I was still working at the hospital. I would write a page a day every morning, and I would go to work. And I was in an office with like 11 ladies. And, women, when we work together, sometimes we bicker. That's natural, right? And sometimes there's contention in the office. Sometimes people aren't getting along, and there's like that
Yeah.
underlying heaviness. But I passed out the pages every day when I write it, as I was writing it, right? So they were getting these pages every day. Lady, I'm telling you, I witnessed with my eyes the office started getting along. The air in the office, it felt different. One of the girls in there even got baptized and gave her life to Jesus.
Wow.
I was like, the power of God, right, is just amazing. And
I agree, man. And don't forget, you were sharing what he was sharing with you, and what you were writing. You were obedient, and look how you changed everything in there.
yeah, and so there was hard days where people would, and that was the good thing about me passing it out as I was writing it, because there were days when I was like, oh, I don't know if I could do this. Like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I want to please God. I just want to please him. I don't want to do anything against him. I don't want him to be upset with me. I just want to please him. And then he would send somebody, and it usually would be like maybe somebody at my work that read the page for the day. They'd come over and say, I really needed to hear that today. I that spoke to my heart, and I really needed that today. And
Yeah.
so that was like, that was my push to keep going. So if I wouldn't have worked at the hospital, if it would have been any other time in my life, it
Wow.
wouldn't have played out like that. It would not have played out like that. I wouldn't have had such a huge support system of
Wow.
just different people.
You were meant to be. See how God places his children is amazing. I can't explain it. Like I'm just in awe with him, because even the children, his most, like, how can I give this example? Even people that got tattoos, even people that got piercings, even people, whatever, I know it's in the Bible, it says it, but he loves us unconditionally. He knows the one that are seeking him. He knows the ones that are going to be loyal to him and give themselves to him. And that's unconditional love. And this is where a lot of people, I think, are tough on themselves too, thinking, like we've gone against the Bible by getting tattoos and piercing. But our God's a forgiving God, and we're saved by faith and grace. He carried all our sins, everything, on the day he went on that cross. So this is what people got to realize, that it doesn't matter whether you got tats, doesn't matter if you got piercings, doesn't matter if you go to him, he will accept you and love you unconditionally, and your life will change no matter what. And we're living proof of it. Like drugs, alcohol, everything, we've been through it all. Like, look how when we've turned to him, how he's changed our lives. That's that unconditional love.
It is.
I think we punish ourselves a lot when we do the smallest little thing that's wrong, but it's good to be God-fearing, which is great, because we're aware now, especially us now on this path and journey. Like, I'm not afraid of God, but I am God-fearing, because I know that
I am God-fearing. Yeah.
I always say to everyone, don't fear God, but be God-fearing. And they just look at me. I said, there's a difference between being scared of God and actually God-fearing. Being scared of God is you just want to hide and bubble and think, he might not have seen that. You're scared of him or something. You don't want to tell him, but God sees everything. But when you're God-fearing, you think of him before you do anything. You ask him, and even if you don't ask him or let him guide you, you know that every action you do will be consequences. So you're cautious of your actions, you're cautious of your thoughts, you've got to be conscious of your words, because you know that even the power is in the tongue. So this is as the journey progresses on seeking God. But yeah, it's very powerful. So
It is. And they say that, it says in the Bible, the beginning of wisdom is fear of the Lord. That's the beginning of wisdom.
Yeah. And it's only because he's protecting you. And that's why you're God-fearing, is because you know that if you think of him first, you're not going to go down a road where he doesn't want you to go. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to reset our destinations. Now, we can either do it with a breeze, easy and effortlessly through the Lord and just go straight through, or we can veer off to the right, or we can veer off to the left. And God said, well, why do you want to do that if I'm here,
Well, that's why that one verse, what is it? God works together for the good, for all those that are called according to his purpose. I can't really verbatim say it. It's Romans 8, I think. He works together all things for the good.
Yeah, and this is what I've realized, even with the new covenant, where we just got to lean on Jesus more than ever now and just surrender and let him lead us and guide us. And when I learned that, I go, oh my gosh, it's that easy, Yeah,
I think more people, so a lot of people stay separated from God because, like you said, they're afraid that their sin is so dirty, or they're so bad, or they're so that they can never be forgiven. Like, I want to tell those people, you know what? You could be the worst person inside and out and done the most despicable things, and God will forgive you because Jesus died for you if you make him your Lord and Savior and you say that and you mean it.
Amen.
There's nothing in this world. It says in the Bible that no one can separate us from the love of God. Not angels, not demons, not principalities, nor height, nor depth, nor width. There's nothing that can separate you from his love. And he made you and he chose you. And here's the thing people don't understand. He chose you and me and them before we were formed in our mother's womb.
That's right.
He knew you in the secret place.
Yeah.
So when people say, oh, he's just a fairy tale, or I'm too horrible, he could never forgive me. He chose you. He knows you. He knew you. He knows you. He's outside of time. He's not even in our time.
That's correct, man.
We're in Chronos time, which is minutes. We work for minutes and hours. He's in Kairos time, which is completely outside of time. So he sees the beginning from the end, from the middle, all at once. And so he knows these people. He knows them, and he still loves you. And he still chose to send his son and die so that he can be redeemed for you, so you can be redeemed to him.
There you go. Oh, that's amazing. It's funny because I've got, I don't want to say too much, but I've got a couple of guests coming up and they were in jail, and how they turned their lives around. And Jesus actually visited them in jail too. So I'm so looking forward to those ones. And that just goes to show even their sentences were shortened when they turned to God in jail. I was like, wow. So these are living testimonies of, how much he loves you. But he's amazing. And I just think that whoever seeks him and finds him, the most blessed people on the planet, and they'll realize it when they seek him and find him themselves. And that's what I realized. It's the relationship between you and him directly, and no one in between. It's just you and him. The connection.
You and him directly, exactly.
Yeah.
I think you're amazing. And I'm very happy you're doing the most beautiful thing. And this is such a wonderful purpose that you're living out, that God has given you to, help shine a light on him and just to interview people. And that's really good that you do that. And I don't even know what I'm saying because I'm very nervous because I don't like being on camera. But you do that so well. So he knows that you're doing that so well.
Because that's why I've got my show Unscripted and Keeping It Real, because it comes, whatever we speak of, like us now, it's not scripted. I don't plan any questions. I don't plan nothing. I believe it's got to come from the heart, and that's what connects with the audience out there. The emotions of it's connecting, and it's the truth. Like, to me, that's rare and that's raw, and that's why
it is.
And I like having a variety of people, but like I said, like I am blessed and I'm very grateful that he's gifted me with this. And it's through my experiences that I've gone through life and coming from where I was to where I am today, because I wanted to commit suicide 3 times in my life. Like, I've been divorced. I've got so much behind me that no one even knows. You know what I mean? And now I get to actually share it slowly, my story, even with guests on my show, like what I've shared today. Like, I'm coming out of my shell in all this too, and it takes a lot for me to speak about my personal life, but I'm doing it now, and it's been gifting me to be able to, because it's each and every one's testimonies is what's going to change each and every one of us out there, because there's people going through our situations that we went through, and then they can relate to us and they go, oh my God, if she can do it, so can I. You know, like we're giving hope to others. And how we're doing it, glory be to God. He's gifted us by doing this. You with your books and your testimonies, me with my testimonies, my show. And it's not about me. It's about God.
It's about him.
On the journey. Like, yeah, so this was big for me because I'm honest, I don't like the limelight. It's not about me. You know, and this is what we discussed even with you. You're the same. It's not about the limelight. We don't want that. Like, if we could just put that aside. But then again, like I always say to another friend of mine last night, I said, we're representing the kingdom. So he's given us this gift, and we've got no choice but to get out there. No, we do have a choice. Let me reframe that. But we're choosing to get out there and do his work with the gift he's given us. We're not in denial of what he's given us.
Moses didn't even want to go. When he talked to Moses didn't want it. Moses said, Lord, I can't do that. I can't speak. I stutter. My speech isn't eloquent enough. Find somebody else. Moses said, find somebody else.
Oh, I had a company that wanted to take my show further, a network, and they said, oh, you've got to go get speech therapy. I go, what? I go, no, that's not going to happen. And then you've got to take out your piercings. I go, how does that change? This is who I am. Love me or leave me. That's my favourite saying. That's who I am. And that's when I took my show, and I'm just doing it on my own now. You know, I thought, you know what? The show will fall in the right place, in the right time, in the right hands through God. So I'm just working with him.
Yeah, God's going to make this show, it's going to grow. And it's going to be on God's foundation, which is so much better than the world's, right?
Amen, sister. Even now with my guests, like everyone goes, how do you get your guests? I said, to be honest with you, I just put it in prayer. And then God reveals them to me. Either they contact me or I feel an urge to contact someone. I said, so that's how it happens. If it might take 1 week, 2 weeks, 3, I just leave it in the Lord. I won't go against him. So I leave it, yeah. So, and I always make decisions on him for my show as well. Like, oh, Lord, I got this offer, shall I go down that road? And then he'll reveal to me. So I always put him first because I know he's got my best interests at heart. And it says in the Bible, we shouldn't be relying on humans, like people, we should be relying on him.
That's right.
I'm just learning the Bible now, so I'm not familiar where it is in the Bible, but I remember, don't lean even on your own understanding. Yeah, lean on him. So, yeah, I'm learning all this now, so I'm really good. But the beauty of it is, even though you've gone through your drug addictions, you've gone through homelessness, when's the worst part of your life that you hit and you seeked him? The worst part of your life, the worst stage of your life?
So that's the thing. Like, during the worst part of my life, I didn't seek him. It was after I, had my children and I started going to work and stuff, and I always kept him, but I never went to Bible studies or anything until I guess it was the right time. There was like no rhyme or reason why. I just one day started going to Bible studies and started to go to church, and me and my husband were going to church more. So I guess it's the more you stay in the word, the more you stay with him, right? Then he'll reveal himself to you. And then you want more of him because there's no better anything. You just want more of him because you get thirsty and hungry for him.
Okay. So that was good. So we've learned a little bit about, like, at your lowest, you turn to the Bible, which is fantastic, because the Bible is a living, breathing word, and it's the messages when you read, it's for you. It's for you personally. Everyone's going to get different messages at different stages in your life. Even if you read the Bible now, and you know that even if you read it for years, every time you read it or something, even though you understood one paragraph or one statement at that time, it'll read to you in a different way and a different understanding every time. Like God,
every single time.
Yet he speaks to you. It's personal. It's the relationship and the word. And I didn't realize how powerful that was because I'm coming into all this now. But your biggest aha moment with the Lord, what would you say is your an encounter of the Lord?
Well, I've had so many. So I've had so many, but I can tell you that there was one really when I had been on drugs and I was out all night and I was walking and I was homeless. And it was like 4:30 in the morning. So the sun was just starting to peep up. And I was walking through this really horrible neighborhood. And out of the void, I hear a lady say, "Hey, young girl there. Young girl, come here." I looked over and there was like this little lady standing across the way. And I thought, I'm going to walk over to her. So I started walking over to her and she said, "God's got plans for you. He's got a purpose for you. You just have to get your priorities straight." And I was thinking like, what? So I walked over completely in front of her house. She says, "Wait right here." She goes in and I'm like, she could have went and got a gun and killed me. I mean, girl, I'm dumb. But she went in and she came out with oil. I've never heard of anointing. I didn't know what she was doing. She said, "Can I anoint your head with oil? Can I anoint you?" And I was like, "Sure," because I didn't know anything. So she prayed over me and she anointed my head with oil. And I remember this feeling like when you have like there's something caught in a vacuum and it's a tug and it's like a so I felt this like vacuumy tug thing happening inside of me. But whatever it was, it wouldn't pull out all the way.
Wow.
But I just remember crying and crying. And then she convinced me to get rid of a necklace I had because it was a jester, that of a fool.
Wow.
And she told me that it could, yeah. And so I did that. And then it wasn't until a long while after that. Now looking back, I see my purposes. I see that plan she told me about that God had for my life. And I am just so grateful and in awe. And if I could ever find that lady, I don't know if she was an angel or an actual lady, because I was just.
I've had a lot of people like that in my life. Yeah, I think they're angels.
Like, what? And then there was one other time. Well, briefly, my cousin, I mean, it's hard to be brief about this, but me and my cousin Stacy, same age, hung out all the time. I had just had my daughter, Amanda. I was a very young mom. And my cousin Stacy was murdered by a serial killer, her and her boyfriend. I would have been with them had I not had Amanda, which I call my saving grace. So even though I was very young and I had no business having babies, God knew I did. So he gave me my daughter, so I wasn't with my cousin who got murdered.
Wow.
And so that, my cousin being murdered, because we were like sisters. We were same age, same height. People called us friction twins. It just really hurt me so bad. And so that's another reason that even after I had my daughter, I really got really bad into drugs because I was trying to figure out who killed my cousin, who killed her boyfriend. And so I just kept going deeper into the drug world. And I can tell you there are actual demons that you can see. Even I mean, it's so weird. I experience them not because I was on drugs, but because they're real.
Wow.
And so I had been begging my mom to let me come back into her house because she had kicked me out, and my daughter had to go live with her father. And I was walking through the street. It was about 2:00 in the afternoon, and I had pigtails in my hair. I was in my 20s. And this guy turns into the crosswalk. Now I'm walking with my head down. I'm walking to my mom's house because I'd been staying at people's couches and I was very tired. And this guy pulls up and he opens his door and he grabs me by the waist and he hoofs me over his body. And I end up in his passenger seat. When I was walking, I had a book in my hand. I had a single cigarette because I smoked. There was no pack. And I fell into his car and I was trying to get up and he's like, I said, "Come on, man, don't do this." I finally got up and I was like, "Come on, don't do this." And he's just like ignoring me. And I was just so scared. I tried to get out and the door was rigged. It wouldn't open. So then I was stuck in there. And there was a prayer I had a long time ago where I found out when my cousin died, I asked God to show me the fear she must have felt.
Oh no.
So the guy like flips around and he's driving down the street with me in the passenger seat, and it's 2:00 in the afternoon, and I'm beating on his window, beating on it, screaming for someone to help me. And it's like no one's paying attention, which is so weird to me. Like, I was so loud and just so scared. By the grace of God, we hit a red light. And as we hit that red light, I hear God's voice. And he says, reach in the back, because this is the 4-door car. God says, reach to the back. I freaking reach to the back. I pull the handle. It opens. I climb out. I don't even know if my body shrunk into a little body or what, but I climbed out over the seat. I got out and I freaking was just crying, and I was waving for a park police car because I saw one pull up right after him and the light turned green, and I was crying. I didn't want him to get somebody else. I didn't want him to kidnap no one. But you know what I noticed, which was so weird? When the cops came and I was walking to the cops' car, I noticed I'm still holding that book and that single cigarette, and it hadn't even broke.
What?
Yes. So if it would have been a natural exit done by my own strength, that would have broke. I would have dropped the book.
Wow.
It was like he helped me.
And only that, was like you were in a space and time that wasn't even existing on this earth, like sort of a moment to still hold a book and a cigarette and not break what you just went through. Wow. Wow. I'm just lost for words.
It was so weird.
Wow.
And that's what I remembered. Like when I was like, there's nobody else but God. And, you know, he says, my sheep hear my voice and they know me.
Wow.
And they follow me. And I followed him right out of that car.
Wow.
But my biggest concern was for someone else.
And you heard him. He told you. Oh, my God. Now, come on. You can't say God doesn't exist. I'm just in awe with this one. This is, yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
And the guy was going to take me. I mean, I probably, because I'm still nervous, I probably left out some parts of the story. But I definitely was going to be sex trafficked or something, because he did say, shut up, you're going to LA.
Wow. There you go.
So I was probably going to be sex trafficked off. And when I was trying to get out of the car, when I reached in the back seat, the man like reached under his seat. So he was probably trying to get like either a gun or drugs or something to inject me with or something. So, yeah.
Well, that's my goodness. Now, come on, man. I can't wait for the viewers to hear this one. This is amazing. How God works is amazing, and I'm in shock with this. I'm speechless. Wow, my goodness. And did they end up catching the people
the guy?
Yeah, it was a guy, or was it a group of them?
It was a guy. It was one man. No, they didn't end up catching him. They gave me a police report number with it on there, and they drove me to my mom's house. And at that time, my mother was, had enough of me. So I was sitting on the front step of her house, like waiting for her to come home crying. And when she came home, I told her, and she said I was lying because that's what she was used to.
Wow.
And so I just remember handing her the card and saying, here, call the detective if you don't believe me. But that's the thing. It's like that's why God changes you. He does. Big
times, man. Big times. And you know what? Sometimes, like you with your own family don't believe you, or they don't, how can I say, can be your own worst enemy as well. It's sad to say, but these times we're living in now too. Things have changed, man. Seriously. And it's a wake-up call. as well. And sometimes I also realized we can't get attached to anything or anyone either in our lives as well. Because not everyone can be part of the journey and come along with you, you know?
Exactly. So that's why it's so important for us to do what we're doing, Anastasia.
And actually share like what you're sharing now. I'm still like, I'm still in awe with that story. I'm left speechless. But yeah, I believe it is time for all of us to step up and share these testimonies. And you know what? To be open about them, to be vulnerable, because that's what people are going to see, and it's our truth. And that's what they're going to relate to. And that's why I choose to do what I do. I know you do as well, because we're on God's mission. And it even says it in the Bible, like a lot of the disciples, they shared the testimonies. A lot of the people that got healed shared the testimonies to show that his power, and how if you lean on him, I can make it easier for you. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to go through what you got through. Because I know with my life, what I've gone through, I wouldn't want anyone to go through what I went through. And that's why I created the show, is to show people, you know what, if I can help even that one person to make that path just that little bit easier so they don't have to go down the path I did, I will do my best to do it. That's just me, you know?
That's because you have such a wonderful heart. See, it's that servant heart of Jesus that you have. You have that servant heart of Jesus.
Yeah, you know, that's walk and live like he did, live and breathe like he did, walk like he did. You know what I mean? Live and breathe him in our actions, in our words, and everything. Yeah.
That's right. And so, if anybody out there has a story to contribute, I'm on volume 2 in this book series, Speaking to the Heart from Flicker to Flame. This first one's called Moments Beyond the Veil. Volume 2, I keep going back and forth with a little subtitle, but this is just anybody who's experienced God in any way. So it could be a healing, it could be an angel story, it could be a what are the odds story, it could be anything. We just got to tell of his deeds because he shows up in so many ways.
Yeah.
You know?
What I'll be doing is, once I finish our interview and everything, when I start posting the show and everything, I will put the books that you've brought out as well. I will show the audience as well, whoever's watching. And also I'll tag you in on the post as well. And that way, if they want to find you and they want to share their story with you, they can.
That'd be awesome. That will be so awesome. Thank you. And I'm waiting for your stories too. You said you have more than one, right?
You know what? I've got already an author who wants to publish my book, but I just don't feel it's the right time at the moment. I just feel like God's got me on another mission at the moment and a purpose, but that will come in time. But yeah, I've got a lot, but I'm willing to share as many as you want from me. I have no problem for you.
That's sweet. I know I always tell people, I'm like, you can share your story in my book and then go write your own book too. It doesn't matter because, you know, the more places we share it, somebody might pick up this person's book, somebody might get your book, somebody might pick up my book and see your story in my book.
That's correct. So that doesn't, it's like I said, it's not about me. It's not about, I just say glorify the kingdom and make people's lives easier by them seeking him, and like I've seeked him and how he's changed my life and how he's my, I just put him first in everything, and then I see his hand in everything. That's the best way to describe it. When you seek him and you put him first, you see his hand in everything. And his hand's better than ours. Remember, he's our Father in heaven. So of course he's going to deliver his children nothing but the best when they're obedient and they give themselves to him. Of course he is. He's going to give us better than what we could ever imagine, and we don't even think. Like I have no expectations. Like I'll share one thing before we go, because I've kept you long enough. Sorry.
No, this is wonderful.
I'll just share one thing before we go. Like I'll try and keep it as short as possible. Like example, I moved into this unit. It's cold. It's all tile, one bedroom. It's freezing. It's all concrete pretty much. I didn't have a heater. I couldn't afford a heater. I go, God, you know what? It's getting cold now. I would love a gas heater in this place. Now, I didn't say I was going to go buy one. I didn't say I was going to look for one. I just said, God, I need a heater. And I know he's my Father. He's going to look after me, watch over me. Because don't forget, I'm still new at this. Remember you told me before we got on, I'm in the honeymoon period?
Yeah.
So here's me going for it, everything good. I go, all right, Lord, a heater. Lo and behold, this girl on Facebook, apparently I found out she was Greek and she's born again, and I messaged her because I found out she was Greek. I go, oh my God, I didn't know you were Greek. And she goes, oh, it's good to know I'm born again Greek. I go, oh my God, okay. So she lives in Sydney, about an hour away from where I am. Anyway, we became friends. It was only a couple of days. And then randomly she messaged me. She goes, listen, I've got this stuff at home, these rugs and this heater. Brand new, still in plastic, haven't used it. Do you want it? April, no word of a lie. I'm like, what was that? She goes, yeah, I've got a heater. And I'm going, oh my gosh. I said, but here, I asked God for a gas heater. So in my head, I'm going, no, that's okay. That's electric. It's too expensive to run electricity. I rather prefer in my head. I'm going, gas. I said, no, give it to someone that really needs it. It's okay. Eventually, I'm waiting for God to deliver me a gas heater. Next day, she rings, she messages me and goes, listen, I know this heater's meant for you. I'm going to bring it. I'm 1 hour away. I'm going to drive because today's my day off and I'm going to bring it to you. And in my head's God saying, okay, say thank you. And I said, okay. All right, then. I said, okay, thank you. No, don't worry about the maths. I said, okay, but I'll take the heater. This woman came, and when she came to deliver it, a massive plastic bag. And what didn't it have in there? It had a blanket. I needed a queen-size blanket for my bed. She got me a brand new queen-size blanket. It matches my bedspread, which I was like shocked. She got these, the fusion oil that smells nice in your home. She got me those. She got my dog a teddy bear. She got my dog some treats. She bought me some chocolates that I love, and she doesn't even know me. She put 2 books in there, one prayer book and this other powerful prayer book as well. Like I was like, what? And then she had the heater in there as well. And then she had this little envelope. It was like a card. And I thought, I was so emotional. I just took a picture, put up on Facebook saying, God sometimes delivers things to you, not in the way that you think. You receive them, but even better than you can imagine. Like I didn't know all that was going to happen. Well, I asked for a heater, and then so much more came up, right? Because God delivers better. That's why I'm sharing this story. Anyway, once I did the post and I got all the emotions out, I sat down and said, let me read the card she wrote. Because she had on the card, Jesus loves you, God loves you. I'm going, okay, let me open the card. I opened the card. There was no card. There was $200 in there.
Oh, thank you, Jesus. Because, he does that. That's crazy.
And this was only how many weeks ago? I'm going, what? And then I realised.
So then he answered you, plus he gave you more. He answered you and gave you more because you were obedient.
Yeah, and the fact was, his heater's economical too. And I'm going, oh my gosh, look how he delivered even better. And the funny thing behind all this, how I was obedient to him. Prior, a couple of days ago, I finally could afford to buy a perfume for myself, my favourite perfume. It was on sale. I went and got it. I got so excited. I came up to my unit. I went to unpack the perfume, and something said, you're not unpacking it. Leave it where it is.
Yeah, that was gone, right?
In the plastic and in the box. You're not opening it. Really? I just wanted to enjoy, put on there, open it up, and have it there. And I listened and I didn't open it. I said, okay. I put it in my cupboard. I closed the cupboard. Then when she told me she was coming, something inside me goes, Coach, Coach, Coach. It kept going, Coach, 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 because that was the name of the perfume. And I go, Coach, oh my God, you want me? That's the gift. That's for her. And then I rang her up, go, listen, I said, all right, I'm going to accept the heater from you, but I've got to give you a gift, and I'm meant to give it to you. She goes, okay, thank you. She comes and she said to me, thank you so much for allowing me to give you this gift, because a lot of people say you're always giving, you shouldn't be giving. And I was scared of giving. And the fact that you said yes to me, you have blessed me so much, because I feel so grateful that I could help someone in need. So she felt really good. Then she went home, she opened the perfume. She never smelled Coach before. She opened it up, and the picture of the Coach represents something to her in the Bible. And she goes, you don't know how much the meaning of this perfume means to me. And look how God worked. And because I was obedient, I didn't open the perfume. Talk about it. Blessings that came all around it. I was like, oh my gosh. So that's how I started to learn to work with the Lord now. And it's mind blowing. That's all I can say.
It is definitely mind blowing.
And one more thing happened before I forget. Like even yesterday, an experience I had when I asked for something. I said, you know what? Thank you, God, that you delivered this for me today. Lo and behold, he delivered exactly what I asked for yesterday. And I was like, because I'm new to this still. So I'm just exactly what I asked for, he delivered by night. Exactly.
Oh.
To the T, how I described it.
That's amazing.
And
See, that's amazing. And that just shows that, you're attuned to him. Like you're doing it, your relationship is growing and you're trusting him and he's just providing.
And it's not, you know what the trust is, I realized? It's not asking for things. It's knowing that, hold on, he's here to protect us. He's our protector. He's our waymaker, our provider. He is our everything. And I'm not always asking for things. I'm just to know that he's there when I asked him to go ahead of me, like every day to go ahead and prepare my day for me, and that I can lean on him, that he's protecting me. And that it's just a blessing. The fact that you are here, just, I kind of, yeah, you know where I'm going with this.
I definitely do, because I could say like, oh, people were like, oh, you wrote a book. Oh, that's so awesome. You probably have a lot of money. I'm like, no, but I'm spiritually rich. And that's better. That's way better. That's like in my soul, in my heart, I'm spiritually rich.
Store your treasures in heaven, not on earth.
Not on earth. But if he wants to bless us, then we have to be gracious enough to receive it. And then turn around and do right things with it. And be good, just be good at tithing and giving and do his work. Use it for his kingdom.
Yeah, because that's what I found out when I got all this stuff and all these treats and everything. I was blessed to be able to share it with someone else as well. And I'm going, oh my gosh, so this is what we're coming back into, and we should be coming back into, because the world at the moment wants to separate us. We've got to bring everyone together again, and it's the human connection. This is.
It is. And definitely also, I just want to say that the prosperity gospel, no bueno. It's not good. God isn't about, like you said, it's not about getting stuff or having stuff or piling on stuff, because this is all temporal. This is not our permanent home. Our permanent home is in heaven. So, I don't know. That is just a point I wanted to say, because it's true. It's not about seeking God for stuff. You seek God because of God. He knows, because he knows your heart.
Yeah. And that's what it all boils down to, because like you said, it's just stuff. And that's what I've realized. Like, if anyone goes, oh, I like this or whatever, he just take it. I have no problem with that.
I want to tell them to read King Solomon in the Bible, because literally he had everything he wanted. He said that everything under the sun was just toil. It was nothing. He had everything, every single thing in the world that he could think of that he wanted to indulge. He had it, and it meant nothing without God. So we could glean wisdom from Solomon.
You know what? It's crazy that we're sharing this now, because even yesterday I was talking to my friend about it, how even when they went on journeys, the disciples and everything goes, don't bring anything, no tunic, no shoes, no nothing. And for 40 years they would go roaming and doing and that. They never bought shoes, they never bought clothes, they never bought food. They were all provided for.
Provided.
Yeah. So this is how it works. And yeah, that's why we always share these testimonies, but I love it. But anyway, I think, is there anything, before we close the show, is there anything, a message, a powerful message, or anything you want to share with the audience out there before we go?
Just keep seeking him. Just keep seeking him. Keep reaching for him. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. Don't let the enemy make you feel like you're not worthy, because you are worthy. You're worthy because he chose you and he made you. So don't give up. Look up and put your confidence in him.
Amen, sister. Hallelujah. I love it. God bless you, sister.
Yay. Thank you for having me on.
Anytime. We'll probably do one we'll see where we're at in the future. We might do another one, April. We've got
good. So by then I might not be nervous.
You know very well. And you know what the funny thing is? When I record interviews, I can't see you. So, but I can feel your energy anyway. You could probably see me. I'm not sure. You could probably see me.
I could see you. You can't see me.
No, but I think the Lord's done that on purpose so I can listen more. Because in the past, I wasn't that great of a listener. Now I've become a good listener. So I think that's just a blessing he's even done that so I can listen more. Anyway, I thought I'd share that anyway with you. But anyway, you know what? I love you heaps, sister. I wish you all the best and all the success, because you know what, you're doing His work and you will succeed in everything you do, because you're just excelling in His glory, and I love it. And I love sharing everything that you have contributed to the kingdom, like your books and everything. So I thank you so much. It's such a
Thank you. I thank you too, Anastasia, and just keep fighting the good fight, girl. You know, God's got it, and we're on the same team. So call me whenever you need me, and I'm looking forward to your stories.
Sending you heaps of love. Love you heaps, girl.
Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.